So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other. And we're so grateful this morning to have Karalee Austin being our presenter. 9 years ago, she organizes single events in San Diego, and my husband and I went to her event. That's where we met. Since then, we started dating and we got married last year on December 3rd, and we
Hey.
just celebrated our 1 year anniversary. So thank you, Karalee. So she's here presenting Single Whisperer. With that, Karalee, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background and then go ahead and do your presentation. And there'll be a lot of plenty of time at the end for Q&A. So go ahead, Karalee.
Oh, well, I have done a number of things. I don't even know if you know that, Rini. I started out uh, as a flight attendant. I flew with Continental Airlines for 3 years. I was used as their model and their spokesperson. And then I had my own, I had a medical and legal transcription business that I started in Coronado and ran that for a number of 8 years. And I was on the radio broadcaster for 14 years, referred to as the first lady of rock and roll. And then I've done so many things I can't even remember, but I also have been an actress for a number of years. Well, 30 years, but I also had to work during that time because I have a daughter, so I never really gave it 100%. But I did a little bit here and there, and I needed the flexibility during the day. I had a friend, a male friend, who said I was looking for a job to give me time to audition, let me take time off to audition during the day. He said, well, why don't you come with me to a speed dating event? I think you might
Mhm.
like it. I guess I was dating at the time also, not him, but I was looking for someone to date. So he said, why don't you come with me to this speed dating event? So I did, and I really enjoyed it. And I asked the owner if she was looking for a partner, and she said no. So I thought, well, I'm just going to start a business by myself. So I started No Waiting Dating. And I ran that for 10 years up in Los Angeles, and it became the #1 singles organization in Los Angeles. And it was very successful. I sold it because I was just so tired. It seemed like I did everything myself. So I sold it. The person who bought it from me ran it for a number of years, and then he just kind of let it go. And if you put in nowaitingdating.com now, you'll come up with a porn site, which wasn't mine, but he let the domain go and somebody bought it. And that's what they used it as. Anyway, I moved down to San Diego, and about a year after I sold No Waiting Dating, I started Simply the Best Singles in San Diego. And I ran that for almost 10 years. And then I sold it in 2017 to a man who ran it for less than a year, got really sad about his mother's passing, and he ended up moving to Arizona and just leaving the business and not taking it with him or anything. So the domain was there, and I thought, well, 6 years later, I thought, I think people need to be getting out in the pandemic. So I ended up buying it from him and reinstating it in June of this year. I am now still running it. I don't have the stamina I used to have. I've kind of lost my mojo. I have a developer of my website who has made some mistakes, and I've had to pay for it. So, in other words, I am selling my business. So, if any of you are interested in a singles organization, please contact me. It's the only one in San Diego, and it's the only one in Los Angeles. I had expanded up into Los Angeles and ran a couple of events. And I used to, when I was running it in the olden days, get as many as 400 people to my events. And I know that if somebody came in and would run the events, and they'd get a lot of people in there. They could build it back up because it is the only singles organization. And the word is that when women go to a dance or whatever, they know they're going to meet men. like meetup groups usually don't have very many men. They'll have all women, but not as many men. Anyway, as far as the singles world, I know just about everything about it. I created a book. It's called, I call myself the Singles Whisper. It's named Raise Your Odds of Finding. In it tells you, I also write a column for a newspaper. I was writing, I have stopped it because I don't have the time, but I was writing a column about singles. And so that's my specialty, but I'm at the age now where I want to retire. So I want to hand it all over to someone else, but I do have this book that basically, since I've had so many speed dating events, and Renee, I know she met Bill, her husband, at one of my dances, but I have speed dating events where I really get to know the people. They come in, like I had one last night, and it was at a very nice place in Lake San Marcos. And I had a lady come in, was very pretty. She said, I don't want to stay. I just don't see anyone I'm interested in. And I said, well, if you don't want to, you know, you don't have to. So she didn't participate in the speed dating event, but she went over to the bar and sat there and was talking to some men. And she was attractive, but I've had that happen before where a man or a woman will come into the speed dating event, take a look around and think, okay, I don't want to stay. Actually, she was a little rude about it, but that's all right. But men who have done that in the past, and mostly it's always been the men, have come up to me and said, Karalee, I don't see anyone here I'm attracted to. I'm sorry, I'm not going to stay. And I say, well, if you leave, you put me in a bind because I book the equal number of men and women. I won't be able to give you a refund. And I feel that if you stay, that you will enjoy it. As in the past, if anyone's come up and told me they wanted to leave and I, you know, talk them into staying, they always come back and tell me they're glad they stayed. I had an event in Westlake Village, which is a very upscale area in North, up by Los Angeles. I had a man drive up from Malibu, a very handsome man. And he said he'd been to my events before, and he said, Karalee, there's just no one here I'm attracted to. I'm sorry. So I gave him the spiel, you know. He puts me in a bind if he leaves and all that. Anyway, he ended up staying. He came back to me later and he said, I cannot believe how I became attracted to some of the women after I sat and talked to them. So I just thought that was the coolest thing. Anyway, as far as I get to know people in the speed dating events, and I have done some custom matchmaking, which has been very successful for me. But it's not that custom matchmaking is a hard job. You take money from people, and if you don't, you know, provide, I feel bad. I just can't. So I kind of turned it over to someone else. But I have been successful in it in the past. Anyway, that's about it. I just have had a lot. I have a lot of experience in dealing with people like this lady who came in last night and said, "There's no one here. I don't want to stay." And it's so funny because I'm almost positive that if she has stayed and talked to at least one, possibly two men who were there and seemed really nice and kind of her type, that she would have had a good time. But she was just taking a quick look and decided that they didn't have the looks she wanted, and you can't go on looks. So anyway, that is there anything anybody wants to know, or do you want me to talk more, Rini?
It's about the single whisper, but we could just open it up and see what the issues or what the questions are. Go ahead, Suzanne.
There we go. All right. So, Karalee, I wrote my book back there that you can see. And it's more on the autistic woman, but I posed a blind dating, speed dating, but it wasn't actually speed dating. But I set up that people put on black blindfolders before they even enter the room. They come in with a watchdog, another participant, who walk them over to the person that they might be most related to in activities and interests. They walk them over and they have a conversation. They can't touch them, and they can't they can't touch and they can't see them. so that there's no preconception of what someone looks like, and they start talking. And it's speed dating. The only difference is that if they choose to, they can stay with that person or switch at the next round. So I thought it was kind of interesting where I set up in my book. I haven't been able to set it up personally because of funds up until now. But it's like, you're right. When people walk in and they look around at different people, they're like, oh no, no one interested. But put a blindfold on them, tell them they can't see them and they can't touch them.
Yeah.
And then tell them to have a conversation. Now they're going by what they hear and how their heart feels, and it's completely different. And the only reason why they could bow out of it is someone is a smoker and the other person isn't. They could bow out of it. But other than that, or they smell like a dog or cat and they're allergic to, they have allergies. But other than that, I think people would be very surprised on who they actually could have a conversation with, because now the sight is taken away from it.
Right, I understand. I have being in Los Angeles, I had a lot of TV shows contact me and want me to have speed dating. They wanted to film my speed dating events and that sort of thing. I also had a talk show called Attraction that I did with singles and about singles. So one particular time I had 4 or 5 ladies in the background, and they each had like a partition in front of them, but in front I put a big picture of each of them, but they were hiding behind. And then I had a man sit in front of them with his back to the ladies, but we could see what the ladies looked like, but he couldn't. And he was to ask them questions. It was a half-hour show. And he asked them questions, and it was really kind of funny because one lady there was really funny. Anyway, he ended up choosing one at the very end. So it's kind of the same thing. But speed dating, you only get to talk to them for about 3.5 to 4 minutes. And you have a piece of paper where you write down if you're interested in getting to know them better. So it's kind of, but at least you've seen them, because nowadays with so much online dating, people can post whatever picture they want and something about them that might not be true. So at least sitting and seeing them at a speed dating event helps. So that's probably the closest, but your idea is really
interesting. It just takes away the preconception of who they're attracted to.
I know, definitely. Okay. Any other questions from anyone?
Mary Ann, you were going to share your story with Tony Robbins. Dana has a question too, so we'll go to Mary Ann. You need to unmute.
Well, thank you, Rini, and thank you, Karalee. I would really like to learn from you to see, okay, now that I've decided that, okay, I'm going to open my heart and I don't know where to go, what to do to meet men. So, and I live right now in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I used to be in Los Angeles, Westlake Village, I've been seeing actually those speed dating and stuff. I never participated.
Oh.
Yeah, but now here, just need your help to see, okay, how I'm going to, start being more social and really get to know people and really. Now, first of all, you have to work on yourself. That's what I did. You have to be open to meeting people.
Hey, that's the first. Yep, in my book, that's what I say. The very first step is to be open in meeting people.
Yes, right. Perhaps the lady that came the other night, she, even though she was there, she probably was not open to meet people.
Oh, okay.
So, but that comes, with the conscious decision that, okay, I made this decision. I was not interested in the last 5-6 years. And I said, I'm going to close this book. This chapter of my life is over. I'm going to focus on, I started a nonprofit organization, all that. I'm done with men. But now, during these exercises, during this 8 full-day immersive experience with Tony Robbins, I came to realization that I was just doing it all wrong. I was in a relationship because, you guys know my story that I was involved in an arranged marriage at the age of 15.
Oh,
And I
okay.
got divorced, 10, 11 years after. I was still in my 26, 27 years old. And after that, I remember that I made a vow to myself that I would never make anyone to make decision for me. It was in back of my mind, in subconscious, you don't really know it. And then that's why I was entering into, I had several boyfriends, everything, but always wanted to control the relationship. I was not vulnerable. And as soon as they proposed to me, the ones that, they were attracted to me, I would run away. I would not stay. I didn't want to get married.
Yeah.
So this has been going on all my life. So now I understand why I was doing what I was doing. I didn't want to open my heart. I never fell in love. Because I never allowed myself to be vulnerable. So now I'm having this realization, and I know some of you ladies are very successful, so we say like, we don't really need men. We don't need them, but we want them in our lives because of that energy. The highest, everything is energy. The highest energy that we could really tap into is the love energy. And now that I'm realizing that I want that energy in my life, because if I have that energy, like really, you can actually speak to it because you just got married. Everything else goes smoothly. Everything else become more, enjoyable, more adventurous, and it would affect everything else. And so that's why I'm telling you that I make decision to open my heart, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know. I was just thinking that my mastermind, partners, they say, okay, go and sign up for a dating app. There's so many of them. I don't know which one. I don't know what would be
Dating
actually
apps are,
good
yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Whatever you do, do not go to a custom matchmaker, because many of them do not have your heart in their best interest. They're just in it for the money, and they'll promise you the moon. Usually, not all. I can't say that about all. But another thing that you want to do, other than being open, you want to broaden your standards. And I don't know if you have standards or not, but do you have standards? Do you, are there
Yes,
certain things that you're looking for? I mean, everyone should have standards, but I mean, what
yes,
are you?
I did that exercise years ago with the Bob Proctor's coaching that I was in, and Bob Proctor said, okay, put it, like every qualities, everything that you want in a man, and I had that. I've done that, and of course, it's very hard to find someone who matches that standards.
Well, that's just it. That's why you want to broaden it. I mean, I think mostly as I sit here, it's easier for me to go here, but in your opinion, if you have a checklist, it should be, do I feel good when I'm with them? Do I enjoy their touch? Do they make me happy? Do I miss them when I don't see them for a few days? Am I attracted to them? Am I proud of them? Do they make me laugh? Are they nice to me? Do I respect them? Do they respect me? And do they give me emotional support? And is there chemistry? So those things would be kind of nice to think about, instead of he should be tall with brown hair, and I don't know, some of the things that women are looking for, or men, in their significant other, is kind of hard to to find, and sometimes they end up alone searching forever for a man, a tall blonde, or something. I don't know. And then do not judge a book by its cover. You don't want to do that, right? I mean, get to know them. What the most important, what's on the outside is not nearly as important as what is on the inside. So that's another thing. And first impressions are lasting impressions, as you know. And just put yourself out there some way, maybe going to whatever your interests are, and like the library, and maybe I mean, I don't know, that's always been kind of weird to me, going to the library to see if you can meet somebody. But at church, I mean, I don't know if you go to a church or not, but lectures, if you're an intellectual type, anyway, And then you go, be sure and watch the warning signs not to get involved if you're with someone and they're drinking a lot or they're late in picking you up. They don't follow through with what they say. They're abusive in some way or something, if they aren't faithful to you. Anyway, so those are some of the things that you want to check on. And I would suggest go places where you might meet people your age and someone you might be interested in, like if you have a certain interest in something yourself, but then just go there. I mean, visit some kind of a lecture or something where you can meet a man that you would really like. You might meet a man.
Do you recommend, dating sites?
No, I think Match.com is probably one of the better ones, but I don't know really. And also, you'll have speed dating events in your area, I'm sure. Do you not have any speed dating events?
I don't know. I have to probably research.
And you should check, because usually anyone going to a speed dating event is serious about finding someone. They're not going there to play around. I did have a Christian speed dating event one time, and I had a man come in, and he was telling all the women what he was looking for was to have sex. And one woman marked him as a yes. But one of my rules at my speed dating event was not to mention sex. That was one of the things, or ask somebody out at the time, because that puts them on the spot. So you're supposed to write down if you're interested in them. But definitely try a speed dating event.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Marianne. Dana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dana. Thank you, Karalee, for all of this so far. I really like it. A little bit about myself. I live in San Diego. I'm in the South Park area, really close to Coronado. So I was actually in Coronado yesterday. And I split from my daughter's dad 3 years ago. She's almost 5. So I've had a hard time dating. I'll tell you why. I am pretty particular about what I want and what I look for. And I also stopped drinking alcohol 3 years ago. And I've been online dating quite a bit because I'm in my early 40s. So it's harder for me to meet people. I own a business. I've owned a hair salon for about 17 years. And I do the, single mom thing. We do 50-50 custody. So I think it's hard because I put my daughter first, of course, and I make that very clear. And then also I make it clear that my sobriety is most important, to me before relationships or anything. And so I think that men like that. They see that I'm very independent. I know what I want. My daughter's very important to me, and they like it at first. And then they start dating me and they realize she doesn't really need a whole lot from me. Right. And they also think, I believe this is feedback because I asked for constructive criticism, is that I think that they like the idea that I don't drink because I'm responsible. But then when they start dating me, they realize, oh, this is a permanent thing, because I'll get the questions of like, well, can you just have a glass of wine with me on my birthday? Or, can we, and I'm like, I'm, Alcoholics Anonymous. I sponsor other women. Like, I'm very active in the community, and I come from, a family of alcoholics. So I said, no, it's a forever thing. And when they realize that, like, I'm not messing around, I think it kind of intimidates them, and they realize they're like, oh, okay, I just thought you were like a light drinker, or maybe every once in a while kind of a drinker. And I have had people tell me that that's a problem. So it's been difficult. I like the idea of in-person dating because I have a certain type, of course, like everybody does, and I tend to date younger, and that doesn't usually work out for me. And then when I meet the older gentlemen, I think they're used to dating younger women, and then there's some problems that come along with that too. Or like men my age, I think kind of prefer dating women a little bit younger. So there's all types of things. But I'm interested in learning about your business for sale and all of that, definitely, or just talking to you about it. I just purchased my first home. I'm in escrow. I'm actually closing either tomorrow or Monday. It's a little level, honey. And Can you give mommy 1 minute? I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you in a minute, okay, honey? And so, the speed dating thing sounds great. And also, recently I met somebody that I would not normally probably choose. But I'm doing things a lot differently, like not sleeping in the same bed as that person, like, on the third date or second date or whatever. I've probably been on 5 dates, 6 dates, and I have not done that. I'm just trying to get to know him as a person, and he's older than I am. He's amazing. He just finished cancer treatment. There's a lot of things that I would have just passed on immediately before. So I think I'm in a place where I'm like kind of figuring out, like, okay, I need to start doing things a little differently. He does drink, but very rarely, like a glass of wine here or there, because I kind of had it in my head, like, oh, I just need to date men that don't drink. Like, they have to be an Alcoholics Anonymous. They have to have worked these steps and gone through this therapy type, deep, intensive, like, therapy that you have to go through when you work the steps. So I put myself in these little boxes, and I'm like, okay, this is what I have to date. I have to date younger. I have to date dark-haired men. And then it changes, and I'm just like pushing people out that, could be a good match, potentially a good match. So I'm in a place where I'm just, I think that meeting someone face to face is very important. Seeing if there's chemistry and attraction, not just physically, but on an intellectual level too. I'm interested in all of it. So this is really good conversation. I like what Suzanne said about that blindfolding. I think that's really cool. Because so many times you're physically attracted, and then you get together with them and you're like, oh, maybe for like a fun weekend, this will be fun. Yeah. But like, there's no connection beyond that. And then other times I meet people in person at the grocery store, and I'm like, I never would have swiped right on him, but I wish I would have asked that guy for his phone number, because he was so cool, Yeah. So I do like the idea of that. And I think that it doesn't matter, if they're short or tall, or, older or younger. I think that it's just like, genuine connection that's important. So this is fun conversation. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. Thanks for inviting me, Rinny. Yeah. Rinny's my mother-in-law, by the way. Or she's my brother's wife's mom.
Brother's
Yeah,
wife.
Dana is so cool.
Mom, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wanted to tell you, there was a couple of ladies who when I had owned No Waiting Dating in Los Angeles, they owned a company called Naked Dating. And what it was about was that first of all, I was surprised at the number of women who have a date and go to bed with somebody on the first date. I was totally surprised by that. But they but their company was Naked Dating, where you get to know someone really well before you have sex. And then it's much nicer and better and everything. So anyway, that's kind of what you were saying, that you didn't want to date or sleep in the same bed with somebody until you got to know them. And I really, really endorse that. Yeah, that's I think that's very important, because when women go have sex with someone on the first date, let's say the man, she's thinking, oh, he likes me a lot or whatever, and the man is not there on the same page. Most men don't necessarily want a woman who's going to sleep with every man they meet on the first date. So that's another thing too. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Thank you, Dana. Maryam, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to share something else. Another realization that I had, has a lot to do with masculine and feminine energy. Most of successful women, you all are very successful women. When we entered the workforce, we had no choice to compete with men. We had no choice. And before we know it, we tapped into our masculine energy, and we show up as a masculine energy. And that's a little bit a part of like, okay, I'm attractive. I'm a good person. How come, this wonderful man is with someone that, I should be with? Because of that energy, because we all have this mask of masculinity. And that's what I realized that, and I had that. And another thing that I want to give you, as you're my sisters, you never criticize a man. The men, they need to be our heroes. You have to treat them like a king in order for you to be a queen. And I wasn't doing that, because when you are in a masculine energy, you're not tapping into your powerful feminine energy. We are powerful. We don't need this mask on. And I was criticized. Why did you do this? Well, we do that. We do that. We criticize, and we think we're doing it, for better for them. That's not what they like. That's not what it, because you are actually putting them down. One of the no that I learned from Tony was that criticism is the worst thing you could do. It kills the relation. It kills the passion. And another thing I wanted to give you, we're talking about the sex. In the past, when it was very sexual, I had great relationship. It was with the wrong person, but it was great. I had my own rules and policy that first 3 months, I would not sleep with them. I would date them, get to know them, and it would all work. They're always saying that you are worth it for us to wait. And when we actually had, it was actually magnificent. That's why I was always entering and exiting, because that was a beautiful time of a relationship. I never experienced the summer, Tony says even relationship has seasons, spring, summer, fall and winter. I never experienced summer or fall or winter of relationship, because I was entering and exiting. But it worked. And then my excuse was that I did a research, because I had to protect myself. A single woman, it's like, I don't want to get any diseases. And my doctor was telling me that anything, if it's in their system, any diseases, it will show up in the blood test after 3 months, not immediately. And until we get the test done, I would not sleep with them. It was just like my rule. It worked. Wow. And I never had any problem with anybody objecting to it.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great, Marianne. Thank you for your share. Carol, you're muted.
Hi. Well, even though I have been married a long time, I have 3 single friends who are very, very dear to me, and I get together with them. And for the whole time that I'm with them, an hour and a half or whatever, having lunch or dinner, the conversation goes to being single. So I want to be there for them, for sure. I met my husband, just to give you a little background, because I've known my husband for 44 years, and we're married for 40 years. I met him in 1979 at an EST seminar, which these days is called the Landmark Seminars. And I really tried to get rid of him. I really absolutely tried to get rid of him. But he stuck around. And what I realized was that what I really wanted in a man was for that man to prove to me that, and I didn't realize this, that I was the one he wanted. I was not the person on the way to something better. So I pushed him away so much that at one point, he just told me, I said, what the heck do you want from me, after I tried to push him away? And he just said, I want to be in your life. So that's one thing, to really get clear. What is it that you want? And I got clear on that. Another thing is that, after being together, I realized the overriding thing that makes our marriage so long lasting is that we are best friends, to the point where, honestly, and I thought about this, if he changed sex, I would still be his roommate. Really, of course I would tell the world, hey, he's my roommate, but, so it goes beyond gender, the love and the feeling. And I really, I have been a student of the masculine, feminine mystique, there are 2 books that I can recommend. One book is called Powerful and Feminine by Rachel Jane Groover. She has been my mentor for since 2016. And there's another book after I talk, I'm going to see if I could find, it's called How to Make Sense, something about how to make sense of the opposite sex. So what Marianne said is one of quite a few things about the masculine feminine mystique. So another thing is that going back to what Marianne said about don't criticize men. So the thing is that the masculine essence needs to feel that they are the protector and they are the fixers. So if they cannot feel that they cannot fix a situation, which if you keep telling them you're wrong, you're bad, blah, 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 they just want to run away.
Yeah.
You know, if you keep, telling them they're a failure at fixing things. But if you praise them for what the masculine is about, then they will flourish, then they will step up. And you can begin that as soon as you meet them. As soon as you meet them, you can praise the masculine for what the masculine is. So the book is called Making Sense. I think it's something like Making Sense of the Opposite Sex. And if I have time, I'll go run and get it and come back. And also, I just want to recommend that the same thing that works for women friendship also works for male friendship. And really, again, friendship is it, it has to be friendship. Hiking clubs, cooking clubs, book clubs, travel groups, yacht cruises. So, again, I'm not married, but I mean, I'm not single, but I am married. And what happens for a woman who's been married so long is after a while, we crave the company of women. So I've been successful on Facebook finding women friends, and I don't see why it can't be the same finding male friends. And, if any relationship is going to last or take off, there has to be friendship. There has to be true friendship. Right. So anyway, I've been very successful finding friendships by just joining clubs, joining Facebook groups, and then you can, virtually, you can this can take the place of a dating app. You can virtually get to know people on Facebook without meeting them, and then finally meet them in person.
Thank you.
So that's where I am with that.
Okay.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, I think that the times have changed, this online, as we get older, it's harder to meet men. It seems like they're not as available, and also everything is online. So it's not but you can still go places like Karalee was saying, go to the library. I don't know if it's library or whatever the places are, in-person places. But Gada, do you have any questions or any comments?
No, I'm also actually happily married for almost 20 years. But I thought to attend because of my sister, trying to help her out. And I think partly she is, as you mentioned, it's important to be ready to open up. And I think she's not. This is something very important. Yeah. And it all depends where you live in the world. Some places it's quite difficult to meet people. Quite difficult to have occasions and something natural, to meet up, unfortunately. But
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for your share. Tamara, you're muted.
Okay, hello everybody. So this is great. I really enjoyed the presentation. I am interested, like that business sounds like it'd be fun. watching people just kind of hook up and have their conversations. Couple of things, Dana, congratulations on your house. And you know, I was thinking as you guys were talking, like when I've been married 32 years, and my husband and I almost split up a few years ago, and a lot of it was because of my criticism. And I'm realizing that right now, you know, like, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You know, Marianne, we were saying that, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I caught myself yesterday doing it. So I was like, oh. So it's like it's something that we constantly work on. But what I really wanted to share with all of our single friends here is like when I first found my husband, it was I had read an article about how to meet the perfect mate. And it said to make a list of all the qualities that you want. Not and say, you know, what you don't want, right? From all of the experiments that we've done throughout the years. So you know what you don't want. Take that and flip it and make it what you do want. And then so say like so my first husband was he didn't work. He was very, you know, he was on drugs. We had a lot of drinking in my family. They were always critical. So those were things that I flipped around. I want somebody who's going to be positive, who's going to be encouraging, who's going to be who doesn't drink, who, you know, so I took it and I flipped it around. But when I did that, I made a list of 10 things, and my husband had all 10 of those things. And so I stopped at that 10 things. And then later on, we were, I was listening to somebody and they had said, make a list of at least 50 things that you would want in a spouse. And that makes you go deeper than the superficial, you know, like this on the surface. It makes you go deeper into your heart and really find what it is that lights you up and at a deep level. And so when I started doing that with my husband a few years ago, I actually was able to bring that out of him. He had it the whole time, but I didn't see it because I didn't know what I wanted. And having that, I mean, I would write it down, like write down your list of these 50 things of what you want in a spouse. And it'll take you so deep that you're going to manifest this guy, and it's not going to matter where you live. The universe has no choice but to show it up for you. Being open to it and knowing what it is you want and awareness, then you'll be able to attract that to you. And then you'll know, hey, this is the guy.
It's the law of attraction.
Could I ask Tamara something? What is that that's behind your head, Tamara?
Oh, it's a pillow.
Oh,
I'm on my couch. I have my dogs.
Okay. You look like a little animal with an eye.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Might be a dog. I have 3, so.
Okay, thank you, Tamara. I see your hand, Carol, but I'd like to ask Omeka first, and then we'll go to Carol. Go ahead, Omeka. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, recently I've been feeling lonely. And yeah, so there's a lot going on in my life in terms of my mom and what I might want in a partner. I think I got clear on that I'm attracted to women and I want to be with a woman, not a man. I was married and it was a challenge for me to get used to the whole idea of being with a man. And sometimes I think this allows me to have a conversation with myself and really kind of be more clear, have some clarity in what a relationship means, what do I want, who am I, what do I have to offer, why is a relationship important, why are friends important, why is family important, and just to say that the same issues can be true for, you know, I know there's different types of genders now, which, you know, I don't understand because all I know is man and a woman, but and yeah, some clarity. And I definitely, it seemed like I attracted my husband, and just saying the word husband is weird for me. And wife would be just as weird. So, and I realized that I was attracted to women when I was like 16. So that was like in the 70s, and people weren't talking about it. I mean, there was an Essence magazine article about lesbians, women, you know, well, that's kind of redundant for lesbian women, but back in like 1977, which was like the first time that especially Black women had really put that out in public and affirmed the okayness and the love that women can have for each other. So yeah, I'm feeling kind of lonely, and I'm like, well, I said, well, yeah, sex is an issue for me. So I'm like, well, and I'm not at a place where I'm hating men because of being abused. I never took that on. Well, I never would have got married if that was the case, but just seeing the patterns that I have in relationships, I've never really, just to be honest, I've never really been in love mutually with someone. Maybe being married, that was like the closest. And there were so many issues just in terms, I wanted to have a child, and then I was scared, and then my femininity, my womanhood, I was not confused, but I wasn't clear, and it was a lot of fear. And yeah. My mother actually in her 70s found a man online who knew that could happen. So anything's possible, and I'm open to love. I'm open to more friends, like physically, that live around me, and really I'd like to build community, and I don't want it to come from a fear. Oh my God, the government's going to do this, or the money is going to do that, and I need to have people to help me grow food, and I don't want to have that. I want some really loving, beautiful people that live near me, that I don't have to drive an hour or 45 minutes into Atlanta to do things. And yeah, so it's interesting just how I make friends. So a lot to think about. Thank you all for sharing.
Thank you, Amika, for
Thank you,
trusting us and
Karalee.
sharing your personal life.
Yeah.
We're almost at 8 o'clock. I'm going to continue with this, but anyone who needs to leave, feel free to do so. Karalee, are you still okay for a few more minutes?
For a little bit. I had a speed dating event last night, as I explained, so I've got to send the matches out here. So just for a little
Okay.
while, I'll have to leave then.
Okay. Okay. Just let us know whenever you need to leave. It's just a few more minutes here. Go ahead, Carol.
So I just wanted to share the two books. And I put the information in the chat so you could capture it. This is Powerful and Feminine by Rachel Jane Groover. And this one is, I think it's essential. It's making sense of men. It's so narrow. It's and you can refer to it, and it'll give you everything about the male feminine. Good job, sweetheart. Polarity. Very important to create polarity.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for sharing that, Carol. Looks like they're good books. Suzanne.
Yeah, when I got married back in when I was 23, I had been repeating my family relationship, and I knew that that wasn't good, and had gone through some sexual misuse. And so I said, I'm okay with that. Very recently, I brought, at the beginning of the year, I said, I want a companion who is brave thinking, understands the language, and so that I can still be who I want to be. And it turned out that I decided to bring a friend from the organization, BTI, in to be a housemate to share expenses. And I'm like, the laughs that we've had, the fun we've had, and just helping and supporting each other is like, that was where the void was. And it's like, they say that once you take away that emptiness, that severe loneliness, that's when you find someone, because you're no longer centered on the idea of I have to find someone because I'm lonely. And I got to a point at the end of the summer where I said, I don't want to just bring in a man just so that I stop being lonely. I want someone who speaks the language of Brave Thinking Institute, that understands it, so I can still be me and all the growth I've had without feeling pressure to take down my stuff or change who I am. And I'm like, what a great idea. I just brought in a housemate to share expenses, and it was the best thing I could have done.
That's awesome. Thank you, Suzanne, for sharing that. Maryam, you're the last one here, and then we have to close after that. Go ahead.
I wanted to thank everyone for their sharing. And I admire those of you that are married and they have few decades of a marriage. I actually admire you. So you must do something right. But one thing I wanted to emphasize, and I think Carol also said it too, the polarity is what is very important. We have to pay attention to that. Like Omiko, I admire you, and it's a good thing. You need to celebrate to finally realizing what is it that you really, really want. This is good. But when you are entering into a relationship, there has to be, sometimes we tap into masculine energy, sometimes we tap into feminine energy. So that polarity is what is keeping the relationship going. If there is no polarity, if there is no attraction, not going to work. So, and I'm glad that, Carol, you suggested those books, because I realized that, I have to get rid of this masculine mask. So tapping into my feminine energy, taking a bath. So one of my actually coach, suggested to do 5 minutes feminine dance in the morning. I don't know if you guys have any idea how I can actually develop this feminine side and then stay in my feminine power, please let me know. But because I am on a mission, I need to do this.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Marianne, thank you for all your shares. I'm going to give the floor back to Karalee to close this out. Karalee, what are your thoughts?
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. We're talking about feminine and masculine. Men like feminine, nurturing women. They really do. And one thing that I learned from a man, he told me that he was married to a lady lawyer, and she would come home and have that toughness about her that she used at the office, and he was just really tired of it. And I could always tell when a woman would come in and sign in for the speed dating, she would have on a blazer, a suit or something, but she was just like really kind of masculine, kind of tough, and men like to be able to let them be men, let them open your door because it kind of brings out their masculinity. And there's like Asian women have a reputation of being very nurturing, and they treat that, they let the man be the man. So that's what you need to do, in my opinion. and don't and you be feminine and they be masculine, and it should work perfectly. So that's one of the things I wanted to say. And I should have written down a note, but I can't think of anything else. I would like the one person who owns her own hair salon to maybe contact me if she is interested in buying a business, because this, as I said, is the only singles organization in San Diego. And I think that it could turn, I just don't have the the stamina anymore, the mojo to continue it. So if someone bought it from me, they could just step in and start scheduling events, and it includes all supplies, and they can contact me for guidance along the way. Anyway, that's about it in my book, which is not in the same category as the ones that they just showed, but this does give you a lot of insight into what I have experienced with singles coming to my singles event and the speed dating. And another thing, I became friends with a lot of the people who would attend my events and were looking for someone. And I had so many women and men a lot of men, especially calling me and telling me, gee, you know, Karalee, I really like, you know, you need one thing that is kind of interesting. He said, you need to blacklist that one lady coming to your events because she was just awful. She was very sexually aggressive and it was just awful. Oh, Karalee, you can't let her come back to any more of your events. I mean, that would, I don't know, they would confide in me about their problems in finding someone and everything. And I'll leave you with this one particular thing. When two people would get together, the man would inevitably call me and say, Karalee, I just met a really nice girl. So you're not going to see me at any more of your events. And I go, oh, okay, well, good luck. And then the girl will call and sign up for some of the events. So that's really, the men kind of, if they meet somebody, they kind of are there. But the woman, but another thing I do say, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. If you meet someone you really like, that doesn't mean you have to nix dating anymore, because you really don't want to unless you have an agreement with the man that it's an exclusive relationship. So keep dating and make sure, then whatever, work it out with, don't stop having fun or meeting other people, because you never know. Anyway, that's about it.
Yeah, with that, I have to tell you, when I met Bill, he was sad with me. So we started dating from that time on. But I wasn't, because it was not exclusive yet. So I dated another Bill.
Yeah.
Told him after the fact I did, and he said, "Oh my gosh, here I was already set on you." I said, "I didn't know, we never agreed that it was. I didn't know if we were in a serious relationship or what. We just met." So
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, just keep dating. I mean, you'll find eventually, and just be patient. And that's another thing.
Compare. I mean,
Compare and but it's so true. Men like to be appreciated.
Right.
Men like to be, so that feminine masculine thing is really important in relationship to be aware of. Well, with that, thank you so much, everyone. This has been a good conversation. Next week, we're going to be talking about 2023 reflection and lessons learned, and Mary Copel and I will be we'll be guiding, we'll be facilitating the discussion. So make sure you come, and then Omeka will close it out with the drumming celebrations, self-healing drumming celebration to close out the year, to look ahead for 2024. So with that, everyone, have a great week. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank
See
you so
next week,
much,
Karalee. Thank you so much, Karalee. We really
you.
appreciate you coming here
Thank you,
despite your
Rini.
busy schedules.
Happy holidays to everyone.
care.
Yeah.
You too.
Yes,
Yeah,
Merry
you too.
Christmas.
Time to do
Bye-bye.
some journaling. All right, have a good day.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.